Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to the second episode of the DSC monthly webinar series. Our new monthly AI and data science dose webinar series will provide you with in-depth insights each month. We'll delve into the most current topics shaping the AI and data science landscape. I'm Yasmin Ali, Program Manager at DSC MENA. I'll be your host for tonight. Today, we're excited to dive into the topic of AI adoption in education field. We're thrilled to have a reputable expert with vast experience in the educational technology field. He is the co-founder and CEO of EduSofx, which delivers affordable tech-based learning solutions. Previously, he led Microsoft's education transformation for MEEA and held senior roles at Elementor.net and GEMS Global Education and IT Works Education, making significant strides in educational technology. Please welcome Mr. Hatem Sallam. Hello, Mr. Hatem. It's an honor to have you with us today.
Thank you, Yasmin. Thanks for the great introduction.
Thank you.
Okay, I believe we are ready to go.
Yes, sure. Go ahead.
Yes. So hello, everyone, and I'm really glad to be amongst you today. It's always a pleasure to try to really have a conversation and interaction with the great people working in the field, trying to learn while presenting as much as possible. We chose to make the language of delivery of this session to be in English, just to make sure that any audience who doesn't speak Arabic will not be excluded. And please just send any questions or notes that might rise up while we are speaking on the chat, and I'll try to address them as soon as possible. So today's session is a little bit different. I know that everybody is taking the hype of AI and speaking about AI and even AI in education in many formats. Today's session is trying to put a practical flavor on what can be done with the AI in education. This is first. And second, what are the precautions that needs to be taken care of, and how to reach a real value out of this new technology. Because at the end of the day, AI and its usage is one of the tools. It's not an aim by itself. And when we say AI, people means in the current hype, I believe Gen AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, Llama, these kind of models and how they are being used in educational learning industries. While AI is a larger space, Gen AI is just a subset of what's happening, but it happened to take a good reputation and popularity amongst people around the globe. And that's why the hype of AI sometimes is referred to as the Gen AI. Today, we'll be focusing on AI in general. We'll give some emphasis on the Gen AI. The session will be divided into 4 pieces. First section will be looking at one white paper that we recently published, me with 3 of my colleagues, a co-founder in EduSofx, 2 ladies from USA, with very good expertise and diversified expertise on how practically can you adapt AI and use it in your day-to-day life while you are achieving transformational strategic objectives as an organization, as a school, as a university, in all contexts. Second piece, we'll look into a very practical model on how to measure where you are in your journey with the AI implementation. Third, we're going to be looking into a demo environment for a couple of POCs that we are able to share today. I chose to take one scientific topic, which is biology for grade 10 in Arabic, and also have history as a representation of a non-science topic in English. We're going to be looking at where are the transformational opportunities while using Gen AI, and what are the common problems and how to overcome them, and look into also the opportunities that comes with AI. Last but not least will be the fourth piece, which will be a Q&A to listen to your questions and try to answer as much as possible of them. I wish this will be a nice ride for all of us and will be useful to be used on a day-to-day format. Let's start with the first piece, which will be looking into the white paper. The white paper itself you can download for free from our website, www.edusofx.com, EduSofx. So it's a white paper, so it's available for everyone to look at and to benefit from. And as you can see on my screen now, I'm putting the white paper for you to follow my explanation. And as the introduction of this paper suggests, it looks at the adoption and maturity and having a very practical model for adoption and its maturity for artificial intelligence. Okay, the contributors to this paper, other than myself, Mrs. Erica Twainey, a very known figure. You'll find the bios of all the contributors. Islam is my co-founder. He's based out of Vancouver in Canada. And Susan, Dr. Susan, who happened to be an educator with more than 35 years experience in managing schools as well as colleges in the US. So this is a practical piece of work that comes from practical people. The points that this paper is looking at is trying to look at what can be a practical model of AI adoption that leads to, number one, effective use of AI. Nobody doubts or discusses today the fact that people are using AI. Actually, one of the latest statistics says that actually a recent survey that 73% of students use AI tools, while 15% of professors do so. And of course, this is a US-based study, but it shows that the adoption rate is very high within students' communities, and this is expected, while it's very low amongst professors. And there is a reason for that. And we're gonna discuss some of the reasons and why this is happening and how we build our platform, for example, to come around this big problem, in my humble opinion. Another important number that we can look at, and it's as of August 2024, ChatGPT as one of the tools has more than 200 million active users every week. So this is a huge number. This does not reflect the number of subscribers, which is more than 500 million. This is the people who are using it frequently, on a weekly basis at least. The monthly active users on a weekly basis is around 200 million people. And guess what? Our region is not amongst the highest in usage. And this is a little bit sad that we are trying to change together and reach a new level of democratization of the use of this important technology, if I may say. So number one, we'll be looking at the effective use of AI as it's already being in use, how we can effectively use it and make it safe and secure for the people who are going to use it, and also how to make it cheap. And this is a very big question that we actually are looking at on a daily basis. This is actually what awakens me nights and days to look at how can we make this an affordable technology. You all know that the use of AI is not cheap. It's so dependent on the use of GPUs, and the GPUs are expensive. So it's not easy. Even the free versions that people are using currently are now being somehow retarded. They are not like the latest in terms of technology. And the whole model will not continue to be free. The freemium will be very, very small portion and not a really effective ones to be used. On average, just to make sense of numbers, on average, a good version of ChatGPT will cost around $20 a month per user. So imagine if we are having a country like Egypt with 22.5 million students in K-12 alone, apart from the teachers, 1.25 or something like that million. So these millions of teachers, and this is only in the public schooling system, not taking into consideration the 3.5 million students in higher education and another million or so in vocational learning and so on and so forth. And Al-Azhar as well is a huge population in terms of millions. All these millions actually will not afford to have such a solution in their hands. And this is one of the missions that in EduSofx we are focusing on. And this is part of being practical and have an effective use. Another important aspect is how actually AI is leading BI. And this might look a little bit funny. So actually the use of AI is leading to a better biological intelligence if it's used wisely and in a good way. Believe it or not, there are when we measure the different quotients like IQ, EQ, and now a new thing called AQ. We'll just look at it. We actually look biologically into various hormones that are being trajected when stimulated by certain events. So, for example, when you use Facebook and you see a picture of someone you know, you cannot stop looking. And simply, this is the way you all or we all get addicted via the dopamine hormones that's being released when we see people we know or we might know, whether they are celebrities or relatives or friends and so on and so forth. So personalization of content leads directly to a kind of predicted use of BI via the release of dopamine, for example. And the list goes on and on. I will not focus on that so much today, but this is a big topic that's being studied, and we have a lot of work on this subject. Also, we need a practical way on what are the stages when I'm implementing an AI program on a ministry level or a school level or a university level. What are the practical considerations? What are the different stages that we need to go through? And today, we extended one of the known models with agreement, of course, of the innovator of this model to actually adapt for the education industry. So some people came up with a good model, a very practical model, but it's actually directed towards other industries other than learning and education. We added to that, we added a new dimension, and they liked it, so they approved it, and you will find a reference to it actually in the white paper that we are discussing today. The adoption stages we are speaking about here, we name them exploration, incorporation, proliferation, optimization, and transformation, and we'll come to the meaning of that. Of course, it's very important to mention that all of that needs to be used in an ethical and responsible AI adoption way. The privacy is at its edge of risk, and people need to pay real consideration. Sorry, I'm seeing a voice check. If you need me to raise my voice or do anything, please let me know. So the ethical use and responsible use of AI, which is so dependent on the data of people who are interacting with this AI, is very important to consider in a learning context. This is a very, very high importance element that we are focusing on. As I mentioned, AI is being in use. Let's look at this quote from my colleague Erica in her book. The call for transformation is loud and clear. Shake up the existing educational model and move away from rigidity and control towards a more fluid and empowering approach. The time to act is now, or we risk failing in the mission to educate the young. This is a very strong message that simply says the following. If you look at this triangle shows that the real new learning mode, what we call learning autonomy, which means there is a great independence of the learner making decisions on how they learn what they learn, at least on the how. In the very past, we focused mainly on the IQ, the problem solving, critical thinking, and all these kind of skills, okay? And the knowledge transfer, the instructional mode of teaching, for example, was the result of this focus on the IQ element. Then people started to understand that we need soft skills, what we call soft skills. And soft skills is what motivates a learner to learn in the first place. So what makes me focus on learning. And here comes the EQ, the emotional quotient, which uses terms like self-regulation, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, all communication skills, and so on and so forth. These kind of skills came to work hand in hand with the IQ to define a good learning journey and a good learning outcome out of the educational process that we are implementing. Then now, with the introduction of AI, and especially Gen AI, a new era is being composed, which is what we call the AQ. And AQ means the autonomy quotient, which means that the systems are becoming so flexible, so resilient, so adaptable, so personalized to each and every individual learner, so they can take accountability on how they learn. And the role, the mindset of a teacher or a professor at university needs to change. So I'll give you a couple of examples here. When ChatGPT and alike models got introduced, people at universities in UK, for example, where I was working heavily close to them, they were so concerned with what does that mean for formal assessment. Will this be a new plagiarism entry point for students to cheat on the exams? And how can we stop it? So the question was how we can stop it, rather than how can we actually use these new tools, these new concepts into new ways of formal assessment. So instead of giving a question that tests knowledge acquisition to a student and waiting for their knowledge acquisition level to be shown in an answer, you can give actually a question with 100 answers. And each and every student needs to be as critical as possible to the answer, trying to say why they see it the right or wrong answer. This is a new way of looking into things. And of course, it needs new technologies, because when I generate 100 different questions to 100 various students, this means that the marking and correction process will be heavy on the teachers and professors. So we need to help them achieve what they need to achieve in an easy way. We'll see this practically when we see the demo, inshallah. Another example is looking at the very concept of trying to find an answer as the only learning tool, and shifting this mindset into the new reality that the real thing in the era of AI will be how to find new questions, how to find important questions, how to format questions in a different way. This is, for example, what people call prompt engineering. You heard the concept of prompt engineering. Prompt engineering means that how can you write very specific, good questions that AI tools can answer for you in good ways. So finding the questions will be more important than finding the answers for these questions. This is the new promise of the use of AI. This shifts the whole learning concepts from the knowledge acquisition into a skill acquisition, into innovation acquisition. And this means necessarily that definitely, any person equipped with AI knowledge will replace the person in the same profession who doesn't have AI knowledge. So, for example, AI will not replace teachers, but teachers who knows AI will replace teachers who does not, who do not. Okay, so this is the important takeaway that we need to consider, which is the big transformation in the ways learning is being delivered, looked at, the paradigm shift in how it's assessed, what kind of learning we are getting out with. Uh, this actually, the paper will be in your hands and you can definitely read it, but this led to a very practical maturity levels model that we have here. And you see that we have 5 stages. This is like a chronological timeline on the horizontal axis. Exploration, where we start to just scratch the surface and understand more about AI. And I believe most of organizations, most people are in this stage at the moment. And this is a good, humble assumption that we need to start from if we are serious about learning. Then incorporation, which means that we start implementing or having something about it, or building the model that we're going to use, building which pieces of AI, decide on which pieces of AI we're going to work on. Proliferation means that this is where when we deploy and have a system in place that we start using. Optimization will be the stage of making the solution as effective and efficient as possible. And transformation, when we harvest the results and the outcomes of the use of this new technology. And this is an ongoing process. It's not like a timeline that you start one phase and you stop, because the change in technology is happening so fast these days. So, for example, it will be a very wrong practice to go and buy a software that works for you today and don't have like an update, a continuous development cycle, an update on these systems that comes on a very frequent frequency. And this is very similar to what happens to your operating system on your phones, for example, when they get updated frequently. On the vertical axis, you'll find the considerations that we are looking at. The original model had these 5 considerations, and we added the 6th dimension, which is the teaching and learning in a very practical way. AI governance, how can we really look at into this creature of AI and have some governance in it, have some control in it, okay? The data management, everything that happens in AI depends on the data and the quality of data you have. So for example, if you need good answers out of a system, you need to ingest the system with the data. If you want relevant answers to your curriculum or content, you need to feed it in the first place. The people, how people are skilled and equipped to use these kind of technologies, especially teachers and professors in the first place. The process around being used. Actually, today, we all know that one of the common problems in the use of AI is hallucination. Another common problem is having an environment that's not safe and secure for our children to use. These kind of processes, when they are implemented and are in place, this will help a lot. Of course, they need to go all the way to be self-services processes, and of course, as innovative as possible to achieve transformation. Technology infrastructure and AI enablers. In today's world, it's like actually owning a nuclear weapon if you have a good AI solution. I'll give you some examples of what's happening in the region. Currently, we know that there are the famous LLMs, large language models, generative AI models like ChatGPT, Llama from Facebook, Gemini from Google, and so on and so forth. We also know that UAE, for example, came up with 3 big models, Falcon and Noor. Noor is the Arabic Falcon, coming from what's called TII, and Jace, which is named after one mountain in Abu Dhabi. And Jace is the collaboration with Microsoft and G42 in Abu Dhabi, one important model. All these models are, by the way, open source. In Saudi Arabia, they came up recently with and announced a new model called ALLAM or ALLM, Arabic Large Language Model. And the list will go on and on. And I invite Egypt leaders to look into this because this is very important. Now, it's not a national pride. It's an existential war, actually, that we learn and how and learn how effectively we can use these models in all ways possible. This model actually that we built has a very good practical way of implementing that we'll see in a moment. Actually, let's switch to that to see how it's being used. Just a moment. So now you see this Excel sheet. The original company that invented the original model is Infotech Research Group. And and of course, these are the five stages we spoke about. And the main objective is to look at the current state and target state of AI maturity, assessing the current maturity, looking at the assessment results, and then based on that, build the initiatives planning and have a very executable Gantt chart, a plan with dates and dependency and everything to work on, a very practical way. The maturity assessment here, you will find the levels of or the dimensions that we looked at, the AI governance, the data management, educator stuff, and AI skills. So we translated the dimensions over there into education terminology. So we don't look into people, we look into educators, staff, skilling levels on AI processes in place, tech and AI infrastructure, teaching and learning, and this is a new dimension. So for example, is there an awareness in the use of AI in education? By the way, use of AI in education, as I will show you in the demos, is very different. It's not straightforward. It needs a lot of creativity and it will evolve, and we all need to contribute to it, actually. Do we understand how to incorporate AI in all disciplines? Do we have basic use of AI tools on campus, for example? Do we enable students to solve real world problems using AI? Do educators and staff have the necessary skills to evaluate and use an AI tool? Answering these questions with one of the answers here, like yes, no, in progress, and so on and so forth, and putting some comments here, actually will lead to some maturity results for the organization that shows where we are from what we want or what we wish to implement. This is a histogram, for example, that shows where this organization stays in the different dimensions we mentioned. And based on that, we start building the initiatives to manage the risks and manage the gaps that we have. We identify the main risks and the main initiatives with their priority. And of course, we translate that into a plan and projects. And this will result in a very clear way of looking into an implementation and operational plan over years even. So this is the way people are looking in a very practical way into how to implement a full plan to adopt and acquire AI knowledge. I can see some question. Could you please advise if this report could be shared? The PDF, the report, the white paper can be, of course, shared, and it's a white paper. It's available on the website, as I mentioned before, Ahmed. For the Excel and the models that we are working with, this is something that needs some experts to work with. And for that, you need to connect with us, actually. So you can, again, you can send us a message on our website and we will discuss. Okay. Now I will go back to the maturity model and have some closure comments before we jump into the demos. Just a moment. Here you'll find in the white paper a very practical explanation of each and every element and dimension of what we said and considerations when you actually are doing so in a very, very practical way, taking into considerations the current systems you have, the current data state of the systems you are using, and so on and so forth. Then we'll look into why we cannot implement, what are the obstacles that we are facing, and this is my last comment on that. So barriers to AI adoption. You'll find most of the barriers are related to the educators, and this is actually a reflection of the number we mentioned at the beginning of this session when we said that a recent study in US shows that only 15% of educators and professors are using Gen AI tools versus 73% among students. So this shows the gap, and this gap needs to be closed as much as possible, as early as possible, or it will be a real emotional gap between educators and learners in the very near future, as we see it. So educators fear that AI will eventually replace them. As I mentioned before, an educator with AI knowledge will replace an educator without AI knowledge. But AI will not replace educators. We need educators in all ways, but the role of an educator will change and will become more innovative. Educators are unable to use AI effectively. Yes, we know that. And most of the teachers never received professional development in AI. And of course, this needs to be planned for as part of the people aspect, as we showed in the maturity model, to help teachers feel more comfortable. And you can be really innovative in that. So for example, in one of the client's implementations, we use the students to teach teachers about technology, and this helped a lot. I will come to the questions later after we finish this piece. Not all education institutions need AI. Today, students learn to have answers, but in the AI era, they must learn to ask questions. And this is a big risk. Some education institutions see the reason of existence lies in the fact that they have an upper hand and control on how students are learning, the formal assessment, the exams, and so on and so forth. And this is the way they collect the tuition and they continue to exist. This will not be the case unless they start transforming themselves from within. They will see waves of transformation and change they will not be able to resist. And this is a call for the whole community to look into how they can use that. So, for example, a recent study by Goldman Sachs estimated that 300 million jobs may be replaced by AI. Okay, such as office administrative, legal, architecture, engineering, even coding and programming, business and financial operations, management, sales, healthcare, and art and design, and so on. At the same time, AI will create new jobs at such a pace that it will require us to change professions 3 to 4 times in our lifetime. So we need to have a continuous learning. The educational institutions will have a new role of reskilling people whenever it's needed. And it's a very big opportunity. AI adoption can increase annual global GDP by 7%. The annual global GDP is around $100 trillion. So 7% is around $7 trillion, $7,000 billion. So this is not a small number. And we need to have our share in this cake as a region, and of course, in the beloved Egypt. And this is not far, by the way. It's when you see it, you will see that we can have a global contribution. AI limits students' capacity to think and process information. This is another claim that's really fake, and it's just a resistance to do so. Biological intelligence measurements and its relation to AI is very proven now, and it shows how can the capacity to think is really getting higher and higher. So you cannot claim that students of today's life are less intelligent because they use calculators, for example. So calculators were invented, students used it, and they are more intelligent. We cannot claim that they are less intelligent by any means. But of course, we need to change what we give them into a way that uses this new technology and their new intelligence ways. ChatGPT and similar are the recommended AI tools to use, of course, and because actually they have all the ethical pieces and safety guides. I can adapt AI as a standalone implementation. Yes, you can, but our recommendation is to look at the whole ecosystem you have. You have invested in technology like learning management systems, student information or school information systems, electronic examination systems, content systems, and so on and so forth. The real benefit of AI will come when you integrate the use of AI and Gen AI into the use of the whole edtech system rather than having it as a sole implementation that lies besides the other systems and it's one of the systems to be used. It's not the case. It can be the real unified interface for users to use all other systems through it. The cost of adapting AI at large scale is high. And this is one of the big problems we are really focused on saving. The results we got, we are saving now between 90 to 95% of the cost of hosting and API calls from the normal use of normal tools. So saving 90 to 95% is possible. And this is what makes it an affordable, democratized technology for all people to use, and hopefully our people in our beloved country. The institution's current privacy policies are good enough. That's not true. And with the use of AI, you need to look into very new set of privacy laws. The European Union is amongst the leaders in this space, and they have already put together some standards for that. Governance and policies is very important to be implemented if we are serious about using AI. We cannot just let everybody use it whatever they need on the way they need, and we have no visibility. I wouldn't say control, but we don't have visibility on what's going on, and we are saving the people from the unknown of what they really don't know what they have. So this is about this white paper, and again, it's available for you with all the references and everything of what we explained here on our website, www.edusofx.com, to download. And if you needed more questions, that you can come to us. Before jumping into the demo, I will answer some questions that came here. So Gen AI is a great tool that enables educators to create personalized materials to differentiate learning, but still we will be faced with the issue of validating the created content. How do you think content validation can be implemented? So I believe, again, Ahmed, you are assuming here that Gen AI will be used to generate content, and this is the only way. Actually, let's see the demo and see how we use that, and let's answer this practically throughout the demo. So I'll start sharing my screen for the demo now. So we built actually with the aid of a great team of my colleagues working between US, Canada, Dubai, and Egypt, a platform called Learning Buddy. Learning Buddy is being implemented in many countries now, and I'm happy to say that one of the largest implementations we are doing here with the Ministry of Higher Education in Egypt. And this is a source of pride for us to work in our own country on a large scale. Let's look at one example here, and this will be in English, teaching American history. By the way, we tested and used this platform for K-12, for higher education, for skilling and continuous learning for people after the university stage, and also for early learners, but in a very different format, as you will be able to imagine after we work together. So the first thing about content, our system is built on the fact that we ingest into it the curriculum in its hierarchy. So we do have a tree of curriculum standards the ILOs or learning objectives that realizes these standards, and apparently the content that realizes these ILOs and curriculum standards. These tree of content, we build it within the system using the exact curriculum that the institution wants to implement, whether it's a university, a college, or a Ministry of Education, and so on and so forth. So in this case, we took the curriculum and the learning objectives and the content of the American history for the American curriculum for a customer in US, one state over there, and we put it into the system. So we are not using the system to create content in the first place. But what we're gonna do, we're gonna use the system to digitize and use this content in many different ways. Okay, and this is one important differentiator. And I agree with Ahmed Ismail, who made a comment that creating content that's not validated can be a time-consuming process, because how can we validate this content and it becomes off the record? So starting from here, of course, there is another way to implement this content creation scenario, but this is not what we are focused on in this platform scope. So we'll start working with this in a ChatGPT-like format. It's not the same. By the way, this system, for example, is built on multi-model architecture. So in this specific case, we do have five models actually: ChatGPT 3.5, 4, 4.0, O, and also we do have Gemini. The five models, we are speaking with them, and we have like a middleware that speaks with them and does everything that it needs to make the cost very efficient, to cut this 90 to 95% of the cost, and also to make the answers as relevant as possible and grounded by the curriculum and the content, and also keep the innovation, not kill it, and make the whole thing a learning context in a safe environment. So this is what we did. This is the difference between this system and a normal tool like ChatGPT, for example. Okay, let's start with asking some questions on this curriculum. So to people who don't know, actually the elections of 1800 in US was very important. What happened actually in 1800 elections, it was between two parties. One of them is the Federalists, and the other one is the collection of the two current big parties in US, which are the Republicans and the Democrats. So in the old days, they were one party against the Federalists. The Federalists wanted to emphasize more the federalism concepts of having this autonomy of states. And the Republicans, as the name suggests, wanted to have a way of collecting these people together, all these states. And Democratic wanted to do the same, but in a very democratic way. Okay. What we ended up with is an implementation of federalism, but through the other two parties. So this is how history happens. But anyways, this is actually an answer that comes mainly from within the curriculum. It's being generated, yes, and it gives good information about everything. But again, it comes from within what's going on. Another important thing, you will find here a lot of citations. Source document. So for example, these are some questions you can find. You will find some recitation of where you got this information from within the curriculum and the content. So it's somehow by evidence. So we don't just throw the creation of the content here, but we make sure that we have the citation associated with it. Another important thing, we do have what we call human enforcement. So by liking or disliking here as a user, we start to have some score on the content that's being generated. Another important thing, one confusion that people are using is they are using Gen AI tools as if they are replacing the search engines like Google or any other tool. And this is not true. But actually, what we do here, we help with giving you or giving the user a searching facility that's very relevant to the curriculum. So instead of getting, if you put the same question, trying to search the revolution of 1800 marked as a significant politician or political turnaround point, on Google, it will give you very different results than these ones. But these ones are grounded by the curriculum. So this is one of the good byproducts, as if we do have an educational search engine, if I may call it. Okay, this is coming from the web. Another important thing to look at, if we ask the system to learn using videos. So we are not working with one format here, which is a textual format. We are working with many formats. And also the interface gets splitted into two to keep all your questions and history of questions. By the way, we do have also what's called agentic architecture. And we do have different agents who are working for us, like more than 70 agents in our state. One of them, for example, keeps the memory of what you did and understands what you asked before, so it personalizes the answer for you in the future. So when I said I prepared, actually, I prefer learning using videos. It gives me a video that's so related to the topic, coming from the web, but grounded by the curriculum. Of course, if I have my own set of videos in my library of content, I can, of course, use them. We'll go now into some more advanced questions, new opportunities. All what we did till the moment is just automation of what we have. Starting having comparisons between Federalists and Democratic Republicans using a table. This is a question that's not directly recited in the content and curriculum, but actually it can be built out of what's there. Now it understands the aspects of comparison, and then it brings the answers from within the curriculum. So this comparison is not straightforward, it's not there, but actually answering the question in that way, it helps. We translate the question and makes it help actually the user, whether they are teachers or students, to make use of a new aspect of this comparison between the two parties. Looking at another good creative question, you all are following maybe the Kamala Harris versus Trump debates, and you can create as a teacher, for example, a debate club. Imagining John Adams and Thomas Jefferson are living in our today's life, and there is a moderator, and they are coming on TV, and the moderator will start by giving a context, and then will have a set of questions that they can ask. And of course, this can be a role play that you can actually do within the classroom, elevating the level of discussion and learning of students in the classroom to a new level. Even imagine some hypothetical questions like, what would have happened if John Adams won the election? So imagine if I'm asking today, what would have happened if Trump won the election? Again, this is a new set of questions that in a normal educational system, we wouldn't have asked. But in our system now, we can actually do that. Of course, we will have a claim at the beginning saying the question of what might have happened is speculative. So we say that it is speculative, but it will show how students are, this is a model answer for this question. And imagine if you are actually testing your students in a different way now, throwing at them some questions like this. This is a new leap in the way we consider our education system. As a student, when I'm studying this topic, I can test my knowledge. So now it will show me different kinds of questions. By the way, you will see that multiple choices are coming. You will see yes and no. You will see fill in the blank questions, and you will see even article questions. And amazingly enough, uh, uh, let's answer it badly. Let's see what it does with the article questions or essay questions. Okay, so this one, I don't know. But if, for example, we set economic policies, so under the question with multiple answers, this is actually not true. So actually, it can take part of the questions. It doesn't say here that they are wrong now till you answer them. So you can play with this a lot. You can even ask if I want to have, instead of can you test my knowledge? Let's do it in Arabic, actually, so we jump into the new demo as well. This is another demo in Arabic, and let's see what we can play with. We'll say, for example, and I know that we need to close in 5 minutes, but I can go because we started 5 minutes late. We can still do something about it if you want, if you like. So, for example, I will say, and sorry, I'll speak in Arabic now because the message is in Arabic. لخص لي درس الفيروسات وبرنامج. This is biology curriculum for year 10. And it will give you you as a teacher or you as a student. A teacher might need this before a class begins to have like a very quick review of what are the main points of the lesson they are getting to. And it will give you the exact place where it came from the book. It will go into the context of this book. So the whole chapter that brings this concept. So you might need like the small piece or the large piece. And also it will give you the main topics it's discussing in this chapter, and so on and so forth. Then we'll start working and playing with that. I'll say, for example, I want a perspective to explain this lesson, but for students who loves football, and see what happens here. New opportunities now in teaching and learning. You will see that you can consider viruses as a football team, and you can actually see that the entourage of this virus as what they were within the match, and then how the virus gets into a cell as if this team actually gets into the playground, and so on and so forth. Actually, it becomes so footballish, if I may say. Or you can put another aspect of putting the whole lesson in a video game lovers format and see how engaging, how gamified this can go. How actually the role of a teacher now asking the right questions can be different. So it's about asking good questions rather than just having something. So for example, let's have this good thing. When I say I need 5, sorry. Okay, let's look at two things. I want to show you two things here. So here, actually, let's start with when I put, I wanted them to give me 5 versions of the اختبار هذا الدرس or the test, but it gave me only one, and I'll understand what happened now with the demo. But anyways, let's look at one of the question, which is an essay question, and I will answer partially, and it says إجابة الطالب غير صحيحة. The answer is not correct, and it then gives me the right answer. But let's try this. I'll take part of the answer, and put it as my answer. It will say it's incomplete, not incorrect. غير كاملة وليست غير صحيحة. Which means that now we can understand the answers to an essay questions and even have an auto grading, which was one of the dreams of EdTech experts all the way. And now with Gen AI, we can do this easily. Okay. Another important thing is how to work with interactive questions on some graphs. So this is actually a part. This is a part of the curriculum, the content, كتاب المدرسة itself. Okay, and it says compress دائرة or put a circle around the DNA of this virus, the influenza virus. And I'll put it wrongly. I'll put it here, and we'll see what it answers. It says your answer is incorrect. You put the circle around part of the outer virus captivating thing, while you should have done the circle within around the DNA as it should. Okay, now I'll just erase this one and put it here. And now it says, yes, you put it right. And you can imagine the now the possibility of making all the questions as interactive as possible and make a new environment for learning much more gamified. One last thing that I will show you. For example, if I said, I don't like the minister of read, and I want to change. These kind of things around sexual, religion, political stance, and so on and so forth, if I said it, the system will just stop it. And this is very customizable, and people can close topics around it and make it as safe environment as possible. One last thing. I will ask the system to make me a puzzle game. And it now will create a puzzle game around the viruses, embryons, lessons that we were just studying, and so on and so forth. A lot of things can happen here, and we can really, I mean, the possibilities are just tremendous. I'll just stop here, being aware of the time, and try to answer last questions. How can we communicate after the session? Through the organizers. I would not take the number from here, Salah, sorry for that. But of course, I would love to communicate. Mustafa, will the webinar recording be available? This is a question to the organizer, but I believe yes. And these are the questions I got. I can still go on for another 10 minutes or so if you have more questions to answer. And I will hand it back to you, Yasmin, if you want to moderate the questions or whatever.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Hatem, for that informative and insightful presentation. I'd like to encourage everyone, if you have any questions, I'd like to open the floor for questions. If you have any question for Mr. Hatem, please feel free to type them in the chat, and we'll address them as soon as possible.
Sometimes people like to ask questions by raising their hands and speak. So I don't mind as well if you allow that.
Sure, sure, of course.
And if you don't have any questions, of course we can close, but I will be surprised. So it's a lot of information coming in 1 hour. So again, this is your chance. Use it, please. Don't be shy. One question. Actually, I'm here for the questions. I'm learning from the questions. So I would love to listen to some. Salah Abdul Razak, we do have a raised hand.
We
So if you
can
can,
allow him to talk if you want.
please.
Okay.
اتفضل صلاح.
أول حاجة ميرسي جدا جدا لذوق حضرتك ولعلمك الوفير. أنا سؤالي هنا لحاجة very specific. لو أنا عندي learning management system platform, how will be connect مع EduSofx platform؟
رائع. دي كيس اكشلي قابلناها في كذا مكان يعني احنا عندنا تو مودز اوف اوبريشنز. واحد منهم بنكون ستاند الون سيستم زي اللي انا الحاجات اللي فرجتها لحضراتكم، لكن في بيبقى شكل تاني بنكون احنا انتجريتد مع الليرنينج مانجمنت سيستم. we do have different types of integrations، من اول single sign on ونبقى بس invoked من حته معينه جوه السيستم، او نبقى fully integrated جوه السيستم وماشيين مع حته بحته. طبعا الانتجريشن دوت بيبقى انفستمنت كيس، لان في الاخر في مجهود هيبذل فيه يعني، فبيبقى حسب بقى الار او اي بتاعه يعني بنبتدي نقرر عليه مع بعض. فطبعا I'm happy to discuss ان شاء الله later on.
أتمنى بعدين حضرتك لو يبقى في يعني تليفون ما بيننا تبقى حاجة جميلة جدا.
طبعا يعني استاذن ياسمين بقى if she can pass my contacts لحضرتك، واتشرف بحضرتك. اهلا وسهلا.
أشكرك.
اسئله يا جماعه، احنا تحت امركم. فرصه. دونت بي شاي على فكره، لانه الحقيقه اللي بيحصل كتير. يعني انا عايز اقول لكم حجم التوجه في الاتجاه ده عنيف جدا، وادام حضراتكم ابتديتوا تبقوا مهتمين بالمواضيع دي، فغالبا هتكونوا ان شاء الله يعني تشينج ايجنتس، هتكونوا اسباب للتغيير يعني. فما ينفعش احنا نبقى شاي، لان ده لسه ورانا مئات الالاف وملايين من البشر اللي عايزين يعني نبقى متاكدين ان احنا متعلمين كويس عشان نعرف نساعدهم يعني. عموما طبعا لو مفيش اسئله انا تحت امركم يعني، فتمام. ولو في برضه واتبعتت through الاورجنايزرز انا willing to answer في اي وقت يعني.
We have a question, Mr. Hatem. First of all, we have Mr. Ahmed Zurkani is saying how brilliant you have been during the webinar and looking forward to reading the white paper. Mr. Ahmed Zurkani. And we have a question from Abdullah, how to integrate a full digital learning system for K-12 without such problems as those happened in Egypt.
انا مش عارف ايه المقصود ب such problems. يعني قصدي انت بتتكلم على حاجه very specific، قصدك على مشاكل معينه حصلت في مصر، مش عارف قصدك على ايه. فلو عايز توضح بس عشان اجابتي تبقى relevant، انا تحت امرك. ما تقلقش يعني، مفيش اي حاجه، ما حدش هيقبض على حد يعني. بس قول لنا انت قصدك على ايه، بس ايه ايه البروبلمز اللي قصدك عليها. قصد حضرتك كاتب system problems and LMS not being helpful. هو قصد حضرتك على ال LMS الموجود في مدارس الوزارة في كده، وسيستم أنا مش عارف برضو سيستم، برضو الكلمة عامة جدا system problems during the exams أو وقت الامتحانات يعني. طيب يعني قصدي ده موضوع تاني، بس هو integrating full digital learning system عموما. طيب أنا هعمل حاجة سريعة جدا، هفرج حضراتكم على لقطة واحدة كده إن شاء الله تكون جاهزة معايا في ثانية كده. بسم الله. معلش انا اسف يعني، ثواني وهكون مع حضراتكم يعني. تمام، انا هوري حضراتكم جراف واحد بس يمكن يشرح السؤال دوت ويشرح ايه اللي المفروض يتعمل. كويس. وهو بقى الريفرنس اركتكتشر اللي احنا عملناه موجود دلوقتي في السعوديه، عدد بالذات يعني موجود على مستوى وزاره التعليم في السعوديه، ومستخدم لحوالي 7 مليون يوزر هناك. فهي السعوديه تقارن بمصر شويه، تقريبا تلت عدد الطلبه، فمش بعيده قوي يعني. فثواني بفتح لحضراتكم شير. حضراتكم شايفين السكرين صح؟
تمام، اه.
تمام. طيب هو ايه السكرين دي بتقوله؟ بتقول انه اي مؤسسه تعليميه بيكون عندها بعض او كل من السيستمز ديت. يعني عندها ليرنينج مانجمنت سيستم، عندها سكول انفورميشن سيستم، عندها حاجه كده جديده مش ناس كتير بتتكلم عليها اسمها كوريكولم مانجمنت، اللي هو تغيير الكوريكولم ما بيتغيرش كل شويه. يعني مثلا البريتش كوريكولم بقاله 30 سنه ما اتغيرش، الامريكان كوريكولم هو جايد لاينز وبقاله يمكن اكتر من 25 سنه ما حدش حط فيه قلم يعني. وهكذا يعني. حتى الاي بي والحاجات الجديده يعني بقى لها 15 سنه و20 سنه ما حدش لمسها. لكن مع الجديد اللي بيحصل في العالم دوت والتطور السريع جدا، بقينا محتاجين يبقى عندنا continuous curriculum development cycle، والاسسمنت اللي هي انظمه الامتحانات زي ما حضرتك اشرت، والديفلوبمنت بتاع البروفيشنالز اللي هم التيتشرز والستاف، والليرنينج كونتنت مانجمنت سيستم اللي هي زي المكتبه في المدارس القديمه، والكونتنت سيستمز المختلفه زي حصص مصر ومدرستي بلس دلوقتي وغيرها، كلاس روم مانجمنت تولز وسبورت تولز وغيرها. تمام. وي ار بي ومش عارف ايه. السيستمز الكتير اللي موجوده دي، المشكله الحقيقيه اللي فيها النهارده انها كل واحد قائم بذاته لوحده. فحضرتك كيوزر، كمان مدرس او ستاف او طالب او ولي امر، بتخش على جهاز سيستم من دول. مش المشكله ان انت تبقى فاكر اليوزر نيم والباسورد بتاع كل واحد، المشكله الاكبر ان انت ما عندكش نفس اليوزر اكسبيرينس ولا مستفيد من وجودهم كلهم. يعني كل واحد لوحده والباقيين ما لهمش دعوه بيه. الشطاره ان يبقى في عندنا وان يونيفايد اكسبيرينس. وعشان يبقى في عندنا وان يونيفايد اكسبيرينس لازم يكون عندنا وان ايدنتيتي مانجمنت، ودي من اكبر المشاكل اللي حصلت، اللي خلت في مشاكل تحصل زي ما حضرتك بتحكي عليها. كويس. دي واحده من المشاكل المشهوره يعني. وانس ان ده بقى موجود، الايدنتيتي مانجمنت، وبقى عندنا يونيفايد اكسبيرينس، واليونيفايد اكسبيرينس دي ممكن تحصل كلها بحاجه زي الليرنينج بودي اللي احنا وريناه يعني. ده واحده من الحلول يعني. كويس. ساعتها بقى الداتا اللي طالعه من السيستمز دي اللي النهارده ما حدش بيعمل بيها حاجه، هناخدها ونستخدمها ونوضبها بشكل كويس ونطلع منها اناليتكس وندرايف بيها اي اي وماشين ليرنينج ان ا فيري جود واي. هدي حضرتك مثال كده على لما السيستم ده يتعمل بالشكل الصحيح يعني. انه if we have for example الطلبه اللي في ثانويه عامه، تخيل لو قلت حاجه كده ان احنا we can implement one of the use cases، ان احنا we can predict for each and every student how they will score in each and every subject by school year end at the school year beginning. يعني في بدايه السنه الدراسيه هنبقى عارفين كل طالب هيجيب درجه عامله ازاي في نهايه السنه في كل ماده، باستخدام الشكل اللي قدامنا دوت. طبعا الامبلمنتيشن ما هوش سهل قوي كده يعني، الرسمه دي فيها تفاصيل كتيره وشغل كتير. وبعدين مع الوقت بقى لو انا عندي يونيفايد يوزر انترفيس وعندي ال ام اس مش عاجبني، مش شغال كويس، مش افضل حاجه في الدنيا، في مشاكل وات ايفر، اقدر اغيره من غير ما الخبط اليوزر. زمان كنا ساعات بنسيب سيستمز مش حلوه بس عشان الناس اتعودت عليها. كويس. لكن لو انا عندي يونيفايد يوزر اكسبيرينس في مكان هنا، هي دي الحته اللي هحافظ فيها على ان اليوزر مبسوط وعارف يستخدم السيستم ومش عايزين نلخبطه كل شويه، واللي تحت ده كله ينفع يتغير في اي وقت زي ما انا عايز. بس دي اجابتي على حضرتك سريعا جدا يعني. في سؤال تاني انا شايفه. يعني السؤال، في سؤال من احمد زرقاني بيقول هو احنا او الزرقاني لو انا بنطق صحيح يعني، what is your personal opinion on how far behind we are or we not far behind. الحقيقه عمرنا ما هنبقى far behind لو احنا ابتدينا ناخد first steps يعني. اللي في ايدينا نقدر نعمله ان احنا بناخد first steps زي اللي احنا بنعمله مع حضراتكم دلوقتي، ومفيش اي حاجه تنقصنا، مش ناقصنا ايد ولا رجل عشان نبقى احسن ناس في الدنيا. يعني بس خلينا نشتغل ونشتغل بجديه، ومفيش حد متاخر عن حاجه يعني. ما في يعني مصريين كتير قوي اللي فاهمين الحمد لله في التوبكس دي، ومن اشطر الناس في العالم يعني. We need Arabic session if available. والله انا يعني ده كان اختيار بس عشان ما استبعدش حد من اللي بيتكلم عربي، بس في الحقيقه طبعا يعني أنا ما عنديش أي مشكلة إن تبقى بالعربي أو بالإنجليزي. I want to know how artificial intelligence can be used in vocational learning. أولا vocational training. vocational training زيه زي أي training، هو الأصل فيه إنه في learning، فالlearning processes باستخداماتها مهمة، بس في حتة بقى في الvocational أجمل كمان. الvocational في حتة skill learning. في السكيل ليرنينج بقى احنا بنتعلم مجموعه سكيلز جايه سواء من 4 باكيتس دايما يعني. بنبص على تعلم اللغات، وبنتعلم التكنولوجي، وبنتعلم السوفت سكيلز، وبنتعلم الكور ليرنينج بتاع التوبيك. يعني مثلا انا بتاع حداده، انا بتاع خراطه، انا بتاع كذا. الجميل انا اديت حته صغيره كده لما شفنا فيديو بينفع يجي لنا من بعيد، وشفنا مشهد تاني كان فيه سؤال تفاعلي على رسمه. فتخيل في الفوكيشنال ليرنينج مثلا انا اقدر انتجريت مع كل السيميليشن تولز، واقدر احل مشكله زي عدم وجود معامل بشكل مش قليل. اقدر كمان طبعا يعني مثلا لو ناس لو انا عامل فوكيشنال ليرنينج بتاع تعليم كودينج مثلا، انا ممكن انتجريت مع جيت هاب واعمل شغل رهيب يعني، ويبقى الشباب كل حاجه بيعملوها من خلال وان انترفيس. في حاجات كتير قوي تعمل فوكيشنال ليرنينج ممتازه يعني. would like to answer. اتفضلوا طبعا. دي سي منى want support would like to answer this question. Please go ahead.
No, no, no. I think we're just marking the question for you to answer that.
Okay. طب انا مش عارف ايه الاسئله اللي انا وقعت مني دلوقتي، او في حاجه ما عملتهاش ولا كله اتعمل؟
No, for now, I think كله اتعمل.
ممتاز ممتاز. محمد رضا، شكرا جزيلا ليك اصلا وللتيم الجميل اللي جايين معاك يعني. ربنا يكرمك. وكريم والله على عينيا ان انت يعني، اتمنى يكون ما كانش في مشكله كبيره في الارابيك سيشن يعني. دي واحده من الحاجات اللي بيحلها الاي اي بالمناسبه، موضوع الترانسليشن السهل يعني. يعني انت لو خدت السيشن دي وهي متسجله كده وعديتها على فلتر بتاع ترانسليشن، غالبا هيعدي لك، هيطلع لك اغلبيه الحاجات مترجمه بشكل معقول يعني. بما فيها الوايت بيبر، لو عديتها برضه هتطلع لك حاجه بالعربي مش بالطرطوس. طيب انا يعني اوير في وقت حضراتكم، وشاكر جدا للفرصه ديت، ويا رب ربنا ينفع بينا جميعا يعني ان شاء الله، وتكون حاجه مفيده لينا كلنا باذن الله، ويعني في تواصل ان شاء الله دايم باذن الله. شكرا جزيلا.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Hatem. It has been a pleasure يعني to have you today. Thank you so much for the informative session. يعني أنا متأكدة إنها كانت مفيدة قوي لناس كتير قوي. Thank you everyone for attending today. For our beloved attendees, we hope you found today's webinar useful and inspiring as well. And be sure to stay connected on our social media platforms for future editions of the DSC monthly webinar. Before we wrap up, I'd like to remind everyone to stay tuned and for the upcoming DSC MENA 2025. And I'd like to thank everyone for joining, and have a great night ahead. And thanks again, Mr. Hatem.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you everyone. Bye bye. السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.